Hello, welcome to Train Talk. I'm Monty.
I'm Rebecca.
Today we've got a really special guest. We are talking to the Chief Investment Officer for Texas Central, Tim Keith. Hi, Tim.
Hey, Monty. How are you?
I'm great. It's great to have you here on Train Talk. We're going to be talking about ridership today. We're going to be talking about the importance of data-driven analysis for a infrastructure project of this kind, of this type. So why don't we just start with a little bit of your background, Tim? What brought you to Texas Central?
Oh, lots of things brought me to Texas Central, but something that is this big captures the imagination of everybody that's here and everybody that hears about the project. But specifically, my background was really designed to bring me to this point. I've been investing in real assets, infrastructure, and real estate my entire career. I've been funding entrepreneurial enterprises for a big part of that, allocating capital to big ideas, and the opportunity to be part of the team that makes something this important and so critical happen was just something I couldn't pass up.
So in your current position, what exactly does a Chief Investment Officer do?
Oh, it's all about cost, getting to the right cost and deploying the right capital in the right places. So money raising and capital deployment.
So it sounds like then you deal a lot with data to drive all of the decision making that you do on a day-to-day basis.
That's right, Rebecca. It's all about information. How do we make sure that when we approach the markets, who are very skeptical and business minded about business plans, we can back up the claims that Texans want to train? And the answer is data, right? Look at how people travel. We've analyzed that in great detail about historical patterns in cars and how they move between Houston and Dallas. For what reason? Why will that continue? The answer is yes. And how will that expand? And most importantly, the data is telling us that the communities are connected. Houston and North Texas are intertwined inextricably for personal reasons and for business reasons. People are going to move at a greater rate going forward than they have in the past years.
So speaking of data, I know we just had a pretty big piece of data that we unveiled to the public recently, our updated ridership study that we've done. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and what kind of inputs went into that and what kind of outputs we got?
Great. Well, conversations from Texans were the primary input, right? We asked Texans, why do you travel? When do you travel? How long do you travel for? Who do you travel with? And what kind of experience do you want? And we've done that in multiple ways over time. In 2016, we completed the first survey and the first ridership forecast. In 2018, we repeated the same methodology with a different group of Texans. And what's remarkable is the data matched, right? We had several thousand Texans talk about their travel patterns, their travel desires, and experiences, and it matched what different thousands of Texans talked about 2 years later. So what that does is give us confidence that the data we got the first time was correct and accurate. The Texans really do want to train, and they told us why. So the confidence goes way up when you can repeat with two different sets of thousands of Texans and get the same responses, which is we want a better experience, we want reliability, we want predictability, we want convenient services and service patterns. So it's great that we've done it twice. The data is telling us that we were right the first time because it's almost impossible to get two different groups of thousands of people to tell you the same thing and have them both be wrong about themselves. So that's one of the great benefits of it. And then secondly, that data is showing us how Texans' views towards how they move, how they are mobile, is changing over time. And that's one of the most insightful things about the study.
So can you tell us a little bit about how they've changed in their preferences for how people like to travel here in Texas?
Sure. Yeah, the biggest headline is Texans have left their cars. Urban Texans have left their cars, right? They are using Lyft and Uber at some of the highest rates in all of the country. We're a test market for Uber helicopter or air taxis. And that's important not because it's cool and interesting, but it shows that the culture of Texans, urban Texans, are all about how do I move, mobility as a service. I want to buy my next trip on the marginal cost of my next trip. I don't need to think about owning a car necessarily if I know that I can use my phone or whatever connected device I have to ask a transportation company to come pick me up where I am and take me wherever I want to go. And that change in attitude is dramatic. So what we saw was the number of people that said they would use ride hailing or mobility as a service to get to a station or airport doubled in 2 years, from 10% to 20% of the population of Texans that are traveling between Houston and Dallas, Fort Worth.
So can we imagine that number is also going to increase in the future?
Yeah,
as
so
we move
the
forward?
rate of acceleration will continue to increase, exactly. So we're early in the mobility as a service, and we often talk about we're a transformative company in what we're doing, and we are, but the most interesting and most dramatic change in our lifetime in transportation is this, our cell phone.
Yeah.
We're all connected. If it wasn't for this, urban Texans would not have left their vehicles behind, and the idea of a train and having an end-to-end journey planned with one click wouldn't exist. And that's the fundamental premise of our whole business plan and commercial strategy.
So do you envision then that I will be able to click one button on my phone and get from my bedroom in Dallas all the way to my final point of destination in Houston?
Absolutely. We envision using technology to have a single point of interaction to plan your entire journey. And it's going to allow us to know more about you and your preferences, and for you to have more, you, the consumer, have more control over when, where, and what you want to accomplish from transportation.
So Tim, one of the questions that we get all the time on social media and when we're out presenting in the public is why not Austin? Why aren't we going down 35 through Waco, Austin, and into San Antonio? So I'm assuming there's some data behind that
Sure.
decision?
Yeah, there is a ton of data. Our data shows us that 48% of the state's population is in Houston and North Texas. So the idea of delivering a complex system and technology like we are in a market that's already connected, that's of scale, that's the right place to start, right? Where it's biggest and most impactful. And then over time, you can think about how demand takes you to other places and justifies a commercial case for those markets.
So, and then obviously the data told us that it made sense to have a midpoint station in the Brazos Valley in that DFW to Houston corridor as well.
Yeah, what's interesting about the data there is it showed us that a commute between the Brazos Valley and Northwest Houston on a train is much quicker in experience than it would be driving from maybe Katy to Northwest Houston, right? So you're actually creating a mega economy around Houston by providing high-speed rail service that could be viewed as a bit of a commuter service over time, right? And you can see then the impact of bringing the ideas and connections of the major metropolitan areas to, the 9th largest research institution in America, Texas A&M. Did that for you.
Thank you.
But also for the facts, or just the facts. It is a great body of people and students and thought that we need to be connected to as we think about transportation. It's a leading institution on transportation research and development.
Well, I'm sure it probably is helpful as well to connect that 9th largest research institution, which is very much an ideas incubator and an innovation hub, with two very large commercial centers on either end of North Texas and Houston.
Yes, that's exactly right. And we talk about in the U.S. transportation world, you move three things: goods, people, and ideas. And we're going to move people and ideas and connect those. Great markets where the ideas get deployed, and great institutions where they get thought about. Because Texas A&M is a obvious reason we located in the Brazos Valley, but all of the educational institutions in Houston and in North Texas, all those combined, plus the economies, are really what the attraction is.
So, Tim, why don't you tell us a little bit about what makes a privately built infrastructure like the Texas Central High-Speed Train different than a infrastructure project that might be public-private partnership or an all-public project? What makes those different kinds of projects different?
Well, the difference is fundamentally the market. We're investing because of economic growth. Governments invest to spur economic development, right? So we're going to a market that says, give me something better. Most governments say, I need to spur job growth. I need to spur industry growth. We will do that, but that's a consequence of us capturing a market and feeding a demand that exists, that's underserved. And we say that because there's so many people that we speak to, and then our survey said, if I had this service today, I would travel to Houston or travel to North Texas more frequently because I know I could get there, and I know I could get there easily and quickly, and for whatever personal or business reason I had.
So obviously you have ridden this train before overseas, correct?
I have.
A few times.
Yes.
So what are your favorite things about the experience of riding on a Shinkansen train?
One of the things beyond the cool factor of the speed is the smoothness, and not just the train smoothness, but the train stops, the doors open, people get on, it departs. A few minutes later, another one does it again. It's a system that works so well, that has driven an economy in such a strong way in Japan, that the idea of bringing that system here to the U.S. is just exciting. But the physical environment, it's a wide-body train, and it's a very smooth, as we talked about, where you don't feel the transportation impact of corners and bumps that you might find in other systems, like a metro anywhere in the world. They're just built for different purposes. So when you build for speed, with the kind of precision that the Shinkansen is built to, is just an experience you can't replicate.
Except the one that we're going to replicate here in Texas.
Here in Texas, of course, yes, we can, by deploying that system. And one of the other factors about the Shinkansen that's so critical to us is that on-time performance. That's really what's amazing, is that all those trains every single day, every single year, every single 20 times an hour arrive within 30 seconds of their scheduled time. Every single one. That's unheard of.
Best in the world.
Indeed.
I believe there was a BBC article from 2018 or 2017 that said that the company that runs these trains in Japan, JRC, issued a formal apology for having a train depart the stations, 20 seconds too early?
Yeah, that wasn't exactly what it was.
I've never had a formal apology for a 20-second delay in my entire life.
Well, or early departure, in which case I've never experienced one.
Yeah, right.
Never gotten anywhere ahead of my schedule on a regular basis. It's kind of strange to even think about the concept of the performance that we can bring. And that just spurs ideas and opportunities.
So Tim, are there any final thoughts you'd like to share with all of our viewers?
Yeah, well, one, thank you all for being fans of Texas Central, because we're trying to do something huge and impactful for all of you. And it really is true. This is about legacy opportunities for this company to lead the state and our communities and the country and how to deploy infrastructure in a way that is Texan, right? It's about market driven, it's about commercial enterprise, it's about doing it the right way. And that means we're doing it the right way to serve all of our future passengers. So thanks for having me on board.
All right.
Great. Thank you so much, Tim. And thank you to everyone watching at home. Y'all aboard.